The book of Numbers is the story of a people rescued by God, learning to become a nation that walks with God. If Exodus is deliverance and Leviticus is consecration, Numbers is transformation, the testing ground where faith is either forged or forfeited. It's the long road between what God promised and who we must become to carry it. Numbers opens with order. God speaks in the wilderness of Sinai and tells Moses to number the people, not because God needs a head count, but because he's organizing an army of promise. Each tribe is counted by name, each standard is raised, and the camp is arranged around the presence. 3 tribes to the east, 3 to the south, 3 to the west, 3 to the north, with the Levites guarding the tabernacle in the center. The message is clear. God's presence is the center, and everything else takes its place around him. That is the blueprint of a holy life. When God is central, purpose finds its order. The Levites are set apart to serve, replacing the firstborn of Israel, and they are given to Aaron as a gift. The priesthood is not celebrity, it is sacrifice. God lays out laws of purity and restitution, because community cannot carry glory while tolerating hidden rot. He gives the Nazirite vow a voluntary season of separation and devotion. No wine, no razor, no corpse. God is teaching hearts to say, I will deny what is allowed to gain what is available. Then he places a blessing on his people that still rings with power. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. When God's face shines, the wilderness cannot dim it. With trumpets forged in silver to call the congregation and signal movement, the cloud of God rises from the tabernacle. When the cloud moves, they move. When the cloud rests, they rest. This is the lifestyle of the Spirit-led, mobility without anxiety, rest without apathy. The ark goes ahead as Moses prays, Rise up, O Lord, let your enemies be scattered. And when the ark rests, return, O Lord, to the 10,000 thousands of Israel. Their march is not random, it is led. But the wilderness reveals the heart. Complaints begin to rise first about hardships, then about food. God had given manna, miracle bread from heaven, but cravings for Egypt resurface. The people weep for meat, remembering onions and leeks more fondly than freedom. That's the seduction of the old life. Slavery repackaged as nostalgia. God grants quail in abundance, yet the lust is judged. He also provides relief for Moses' burden by placing the Spirit on 70 elders. When leadership is heavy, God distributes grace. Then comes a painful moment. Miriam and Aaron speak against Moses, questioning his unique calling. God calls them to the tent of meeting and defends the servant he chose. With him, I speak face to face. Miriam becomes leprous, and only Moses' intercession restores her. Here we learn 2 lessons. God covers leaders with his choice, and true leaders cover people with their prayers. Soon they arrive at the threshold of destiny, Kadesh Barnea. 12 spies survey the land. The promise is everything God said it would be, but the people see giants. 10 return with a report infected by fear. 2 Caleb and Joshua speak with faith. We are well able, for the Lord is with us. The people choose the majority's fear over the minority's faith. That decision changes an entire generation's destiny. God decrees 40 years of wandering, 1 year for every day they doubted, until the unbelieving generation dies off. The promised land didn't change, their trust did. The wilderness became a mirror, and what they saw in themselves kept them from stepping into what God saw for them. As they journey, Korah, Dathan, and Abiram rise in rebellion against Moses and Aaron. Aren't we all holy? Envy cloaked as equality. The earth opens and swallows the rebellion, and a plague breaks out until Aaron, standing with the censer of incense, runs into the midst of death and intercedes, and the plague was stopped. Leaders don't just carry authority, they stand between the living and the dead. To confirm the priesthood, God causes Aaron's rod, a dead stick, to bud, blossom, and bear almonds overnight. God vindicates by bringing life out of what is impossible. In chapter 20, history turns again. The people thirst at Meribah. God tells Moses to speak to the rock, but provoked by constant strife, he strikes the rock twice. Water flows, but Moses misrepresents God's holiness. The consequence is severe. Moses will see the land but not enter it. Anointed people can still disqualify themselves by management of anger and misrepresentation of God's heart. The wilderness demands obedience in the little details. Soon fiery serpents strike the camp in judgment for more complaints. God commands a strange cure. Lift a bronze serpent on a pole, and whoever looks will live. It's a prophetic picture judgment judged and lifted up fulfilled in Jesus, who said, "As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up." Healing in the wilderness comes by beholding. Then comes Balaam, a prophet for hire, summoned by Balak to curse Israel. But every time Balaam opens his mouth, blessing bursts out. "How lovely are your tents, O Jacob." He even prophesies, "I see him, but not now. A star will come out of Jacob, a scepter will rise out of Israel." When cursing fails, seduction is deployed. Israel falls into immorality with Moabite women, and plague strikes the camp until Phinehas, jealous for God's holiness, intervenes, and the plague stops. The wilderness teaches this: when the enemy can't curse you, he'll try to corrupt you. Watch both your battles and your boundaries. After the failures and funerals, a new census is taken. A new generation is counted. Hope is numbered again. The daughters of Zelophehad step forward with a righteous petition for inheritance. God hears them and sets a statute that protects their future. Heaven recognizes covenant hunger, bold, lawful petitions, preserve destiny. Joshua is commissioned to lead after Moses. Hands are laid, authority is transferred, and God reviews the daily, weekly, and festival offerings because devotion isn't seasonal, it's a rhythm. Vows are clarified, Midian is judged for the seduction, and the tribes of Reuben and Gad asked to settle east of the Jordan. Moses warns them not to abandon their brothers. They promise to fight first, then return. Possession must never become passivity. Near the end, we read a beautiful, often overlooked chapter. The stages of the journey, 40 years, mapped campsite by campsite. Every place of complaint, every miracle, every lesson is recorded. Why? Because God keeps history. He journals his faithfulness even when we forget. The boundaries of the land are drawn. Cities of refuge are appointed for manslayers. Sanctuaries of mercy amid justice, foreshadowing Christ, our refuge. Inheritance laws are finalized so that the promise remains in the family. Numbers closes with the people who have been humbled, ordered, tested, and prepared standing at the Jordan, looking into Canaan, proof that God can bring a people through long obedience. What then is the word of Numbers for us? First, keep God at the center. The camp was arranged around the tabernacle. The cloud dictated the pace. Many are exhausted not because the journey is hard, but because they march without a center. Make his presence the axis, and your life will find its formation. Second, purity protects presence. The laws of uncleanness, restitution, and the Nazirite vow were not legalism. They were longing. If you want more of God, create room for him. Holiness is not about superiority. It's about capacity. Third, learn to trust when the majority doesn't. 10 spies were realistic, 2 were faith realistic. Faith is not denial of giants, it's decision about God. The wilderness often gives you a vote. Fear or future. Choose like Caleb, give me this mountain. Fourth, honor God's assignments. Miriam and Aaron learned that proximity to leadership is not permission to dishonor. Korah learned that gifting is not government. Aaron learned that priesthood means intercession in the plague, not position in the crowd. Moses learned that miracles don't exempt you from obedience in the small things. Fifth, watch the slow drift. Complaints feel small until they open the door to serpents. Cravings feel harmless until they rewrite your memory of Egypt. Seduction feels flattering until it steals your fear of the Lord. Numbers warns, the enemy will try pressure, poison, and pleasure. Resist all three. Sixth, lift your eyes to the lifted one. Healing did not come from analyzing serpent bites. It came from beholding the bronze serpent. Freedom today still flows from looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Look and live. Seventh, ask boldly for inheritance. The daughters of Zelophehad prove that heaven honors courageous petitions aligned with covenant. If God promised, step forward. Some breakthroughs are released when you respectfully, faithfully ask again. Eighth, finish as a family. Reuben and Gad could not settle early at the expense of their brothers' battles. Spiritual maturity says, we won't rest until all of us cross. Revival is corporate, victory is shared. Finally, remember your route. God had Moses record every stage to show that delay is not denial and wandering is not waste when God is still in the middle. Even your detours can become altars when you carry his presence. Numbers is not merely a chronicle of failures. It is a testimony of God's unfailing leadership. He remained faithful when they were fearful. He provided order when they were disordered. He preserved a remnant when many fell. And at the end, he stood a new generation on the border of promise, with a new leader, a refined faith, and a clearer fear of the Lord. Maybe you're in your own wilderness, a long season between promise and possession. Hear the message of Numbers. Keep moving with the cloud. Keep worship at the center. Fight the right battles. Shut the door to complaint. Deal with compromise quickly, and lift your eyes to the one lifted for you. Your steps are not random. Your stages are recorded. Your inheritance is real. Family, I need you to open your eyes and recognize the time we are in. These are not ordinary days. The Bible tells us in 2 Timothy 3:1-5 that in the last days perilous times shall come. It describes men as lovers of themselves, lovers of money, proud, unthankful, disobedient, and unholy. Look around. We are watching that prophecy unfold in real time. Everywhere you turn, people celebrate sin and call evil good and good evil, just like Isaiah 5:20 warned. Our entertainment, our music, and our media have become stages for rebellion against God. The hearts of many have grown cold, and the love of many has waxed cold, exactly as Jesus said in Matthew 24:12. He told his disciples that before his return there would be wars and rumors of wars, nations rising against nations, earthquakes, famines, pestilences, and false prophets deceiving many. Look at the headlines: global conflict, plagues, deception everywhere. The digital world has even become a counterfeit reality, pulling people away from truth and into distraction. We are living right in the pages of prophecy. But understand this, the goal isn't fear, it's readiness. Jesus said in Luke 21:28, when you see these things begin to come to pass, look up, for your redemption draws near. That means instead of panicking, the believer should be preparing. Instead of being distracted, we should be discerning. The spirit of the Antichrist is already at work through systems, governments, entertainment, and even within the church, where compromise has crept in, but the true remnant will stand firm. We are called to be light in the darkness, watchmen on the wall, warning others that time is short and Jesus is coming soon. So I'm asking you, examine your heart. If you've been lukewarm, repent. If you've been distracted, refocus. If you've drifted from his word, return. The Bible doesn't just say the last days are coming, it says we're living in them right now.